O- Okay, I think we can start now. Um, yeah, so hi everyone, and thank you for joining for the discussion of Tuesdays with Mori. I heard this is a very beautiful book, and there are some very beautiful lessons in this particular book as well. So excited to see everybody's opinions on that. And yeah, Merrative Reading Room is basically whatever book or article or topic you'd like to discuss. We just find people who have read it, and people can join together and share their perspectives. So, without wasting a lot of time, I would pass on to Ankush. Ankush, you can take it from here.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Harshla, and good evening, everyone. It's glad to be a part of this particular book discussion, and I'm hosting for the first time, so I'm really looking forward to it, and also would be asking for your support and very active interaction for the book discussion. So, with that, a quick introduction about myself. As Harshla mentioned, I'm Ankush, and to earn my actually daily bread, I work with an investment bank. And if I could say the two things I love doing the most during my free time would be traveling and obviously reading. So, I read around or more than 50 books in a year. So, I may what kind of fit in a your apt description of being a bibliophile or an avid reader. So, with that quick introduction, I'll actually give a quick summary of the book and we'll take it from there. So, for those who have read, it's a quick summary, but for others, the Tuesdays with Morrie is sort of a book which is more like a memoir. It's a memoir by an American author who goes by the name of Mitch Albom, and it's about a series of visits Mitch makes to his former sociology professor, Morrie. So the book name is Tuesdays with Morrie. So the Morrie is his sociology professor, and Morrie is suffering from the disease of ALS. Uh, some of you may remember that's the same disease which Stephen Hawking had, with where you lose your voluntary control over your muscles. So what happens is that yeah, the book is set around 1995 when, and if you again remember this, around the same time when O.J. Simpson trial was reaching its climax, and that particular instance is also referred in some places in the book. And as a matter of fact, this book topped the New York Times non-fiction bestseller list in the year 2000 as well. So fairly commonly popular book. And Mitch, who is the author of the book, is a successful sports columnist or was a successful columnist in 1995. And one evening he's watching TV and he sees his former sociology professor Morrie. His professor appears on a TV program, and the TV program is called "A Professor's Final Course: His Own Death." So that shakes up Mitch quite a lot. He has been meaning to meet Morrie since a long time, but this particular instance triggers something inside him, and he phones Morrie, right? And during the interaction, Morrie invites him to travel to Massachusetts because that's where he lives, and yeah, because there is a parallel ongoing newspaper strike going on in Mitch's office, so that has freed Mitch quite a lot. So he takes out time, obviously, and he visits Morrie. And when he visits Morrie, he likes that particular visits very much, and he continues to visit because the strike in his office is ongoing. So he continues to visit, and the book is set on those 14 different days that Mitch spends with Morrie. So these are the 14 days he spends with Morrie, and that's how the book is set up. And during their interaction, they discuss quite a lot of things, very much focused on life and living in itself. So how should we live a life, and the philosophies of life and living. And during the course of the book, Mitch also describes his memories of Morrie as a professor. So that's how the book is shaped up. And obviously, as we introduce each other and go into more discussions, more facets of the book will come up. So with that, I'll actually ask all of you to introduce yourselves. Where are you from? And if you want to mention anything about the book. So whoever wants to go first.
Okay, I'll go first. Hello, everyone. My name is Ilona. And firstly, I would like to thank Merrative for this beautiful opportunity. Yet another discussion, yet another very fruitful discussion that we're going to have today. And thank you, Ankush, for the beautiful introduction of the book and the aspect that you've put forward about it being a memoir. I mean, I could not have agreed with you more. So, if I have to talk about myself a little bit, I'm from Delhi. I am a French literature student in Jawaharlal Nehru University, and I have been reading since like quite a lot of years now. I started as a very, let's say, a very selective reader. I was only into detective fiction and killing and murders and everything when I was young. And then slowly and slowly, as in literature got introduced to my life, as English literature and French literature came my way, I learned how to be able to be open to different genres. And Tuesdays with Mori was actually an accidental read for me. One of my friends had very casually suggested that I read the book, and she did not really tell me what was the story. And she knew that I'm not really a non-fiction fan. So had she told me that, I would not have probably read the book. Sorry. So I just started reading casually. I'm not really having a lot of things to do at that point in my life, and then I realized that this book, it's just brilliant. It is like a thesis on, how do I say, it's a thesis on human behavior, how people shape their behavior, how they are, and everything. So it was a beautiful read, and I'm really really looking forward to having a lovely discussion with you. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Ilona. And I must say that since you have exposure to French literature as well, I'm sure you'll bring out many more hidden facets of this book, which we may, the normal or only English readers might not have got. So yeah,
I will
thanks
try.
a lot.
Yes.
Sure.
Sharda?
Hi, I'm Shada. I'm staying in Vashi, and my background is I'm from hospitality industry. For 15 years, I worked for hotel industry. Then I quit hotel industry because there was no life, so I joined office. And after office, I've come back to take care of my mother. And right now, I'm in the house. I'm an entrepreneur also. I help people. I do social. Servicing everything whoever needs help and all everything. I love to read books and all. Thanks Harshala for inviting me. I love to read books. Earlier I was not so keen on books, when I was in school, my teacher used to say read. So I never used to read. One book she gave me and she told me read and I'll ask you the story next day. So I was the whole night sitting and reading one book, and then she asked me the story. I told her, then saying okay, then I was the first one to be in the library to take the first book nowadays. So, and my nieces also, they say reading book is, good for knowledge and all everything. We never have this kind of, time, because hospitality industry, how many shifts we have. We don't have time to eat, sleep, no entertainment, nothing, like, no, subah jao, sham ko, raat ko, bas ho jao, bas ho gaya. No clubbing, no partying, nothing. So life is boring, like, but after joining office also same thing, and then later slowly we have to manage. I have lots of big networking group where, I meet people, talk to them. They have lots of book reading, all, other events, extra and all everything. So this I came to know through Harshala, the book reading. So I thought maybe I should join and let's see how it is. Your introduction and Iona's introduction was good, and thanks for it. And that's it. What I have to say more.
That's great. That's great. And I'm feeling while you were describing your hospitality industry that if you have already read the book or even otherwise, you might have felt that it is somewhere closer to heart, right? Because the situations which is being described in the book is you could maybe have lived it with some of your customers or patients,
I
and
work with the doctors, I work with a pediatrician doctor who's an autistic doctor. I work with kids and all. I can understand their, like disability, all the mental problems, all those things have come across. I wanted to, see, I'm from hospitality industry. I don't know anything about doctors and all OPD and all those things, But working for 4 years with this doctor, I came to know lots of things, lots of knowledge about
right.
kids and all what they go through and all. I have one Podar Foundation. I don't know if you all know. Maybe they have lots of mental health awareness events and all everything, and I'm the part of it. And they call me for
Okay.
that. I go for that because you get to know so many things. Now it's COVID. Now from one year I'm not gone outside. I have a senior citizen mother in my house. I can't leave her. If something happens to her, she has to take care of me. If something happens to me, she has to take care of me. So I'm deciding, means 4 months I stayed with my sister in Ahmedabad. I came back from there after 1 year. I'm not gone anywhere. Till now, I'm not, because I'm not a house person. I want to just be outside, go, enjoy,
Yeah,
meet people. My hobbies are traveling. Traveling is a must for me. I can't stay
yeah,
at home. But this 1 year COVID, I was in the house and never gone out at all. Traveling, reading, and cooking is my passion, painting.
right.
So these things I do sitting in the house. There's no other option for me. But still, I enjoy. I read books. I get books from these people from where Harshala, the book reading, na right? They send some PDFs and all everything. So it's nice to read instead of taking no books and buying and all. Keeping
Mhm.
a stack of books is better to read from PDF. It's so nice. You can save it and read it later. I've read lots of books. I've read lots of authors. I read fiction also, non-fiction also. Depends on it, because see, it's not the mood कि ये पढ़ना है वो पढ़ना है, जो
Correct,
हाथ में
correct.
आता है पढ़ लो. So you feel refreshing, कि कुछ तो पढ़ा है. Like Perry Mason, I read. I love Perry Mason a lot. I like
Awesome.
Nancy Drew. Then I've gone through the Sophie Kingsvilla. Her books are awesome. The way she writes and all. There's one book called. Then I read Chetan Bhagat's books. His books are also good. एक recently उसका book आया. I wanted to read that, नहीं हुआ. Then someone told me inner engineering is there. Someone had messaged me. A nephew of mine is saying, read this, auntie. It's very nice book. So that's
Mm.
why I got the PDF के लिए कि I want to know, understand what is it, because discussing only you can come to know all these things.
Exactly, exactly.
Of course passion type, but to understand that, go beyond that कि what's happening in the story, we want to know. So ये Tuesday का मैं सोची Tuesday को होगा करके. I didn't know the book का name is Tuesday with Morris करके. So that's why I asked Harshala कि Tuesday ज्वाइन करूँ क्या. बोलती नहीं, Tuesday नहीं, आज ही करना है. तो फिर Tuesday क्या था? I got confused when I went to the Google and saw Tuesday with Morris is the author book का नाम है. The author name is different. So I thought, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. So I wanted to, keen to know how this goes about and all everything. Of course, means I'm a multitasking person. I've not worked in
Right.
hotel. I worked in all the places. I worked in so many places and have, good rapport with people. I meet them. I feel अच्छा लगता है मिलने को.
Absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
This
Sorry
is
to
what
cut you. Like, have you read the book?
people, pardon?
Have you read the book?
No, I'm not read. I want to read. If
Oh,
someone give me,
okay.
I'll definitely want to go through that book, because as Ankush has said, that the person has, it's an old man and he has some
Yes.
some problem. No? So I was just thinking he I should also read so I will also know what it is about and all that.
Okay, okay. So actually, क्या है ना कि this is a discussion, right? So basically, there are some points that will be taken up. So in case if you have not read, then you won't be able to like present your point. So maybe
Yeah, I know.
like
I
we
can't
can.
present. I've not read the book. I have no clue about what it is about and all. I just read little bit of the this that there was an old man who falls sick. That much I know. That's all. I've not read more than that. Just because when you said Tuesday with Morris, I was also curious कि Tuesday को होगा कब होगा. So I didn't know. For that, I went in my mobile and checked in the Google. It just said कि little bit. I have a Kindle ना, Amazon का Kindle download किया तो उसमें मैंने देखा था. I've not read the book. If you can, I don't want to, means if you can discuss, that is okay. I can just, hear and feel good about it and read about it. So at least I'll understand more better.
Okay. So what do you guys want to do?
I think let's go ahead. I think it was kind of a confusion, but anyways, I think it was Tuesdays with Morrie and Sundays with Merrative. So that's still good enough. So what we'll do, I think,
That is not the issue. I can read the book and come back later, maybe join for some other session. Which one is there next? You let me know so I can, just read, go through it, and come to know about it. That's why.
yeah. So I'm okay if Ilona feels. I think we can go ahead with the discussion, and otherwise, Harshal, I'll leave it to you to decide.
No, no, it's up to you guys.
Ilona, what do you feel?
I think let's go ahead and like we can generalize some points so that Sharda can
Yeah.
fit in given her, take also.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. So let's go ahead. I think we can still have some meaningful discussion. So the first point which I wanted to discuss was if your opinion has changed as the book progresses on the character of Mitch itself, because I know Mitch himself is an author of the book, and being an author, there is some amount of partiality which may have come in. So he has not expressed a lot about himself at the start of the book. But as the book progresses over those 14 weeks, do you think that his character's behavior changes over time? And if so, in what way?
Yeah, so I feel that yes, you are very right. Since Mitch himself is the author, we really need to see it with a pinch of salt and everything. What I really like about this book is that it shows a sort of growth, a sort of development, not only of Mitch but also of Morrie, right? Because both learn from each other basically. So when I talk about Mitch, when I see him in the first half of the book, I realize that he's basically a corporate slave. He's a slave of his habits. He's a slave of urbanization and everything, a combination of all that. And he is exactly like, how we probably are in the city. We don't really talk to a lot of people these days. We don't keep in touch with our friends or family and everything, because we are so busy working. We are so busy trying to chase an aim or chase a goal that probably we will not even live to enjoy after a certain point in time. So yes, and in this context, when Mitch, and it's not like Mitch does not know what is the problem. Subconsciously, we all know that we are slaves, but still we have to live that way, because most of us have this attitude that we do not want to fight status quo, or like Maury says, we do not want to fight the society, the culture. So when Mitch goes ahead and meets Maury, that is when he actually comes face to face with the lifestyle that he has. Because also it's a very beautiful contrast. An old man who is on his deathbed is so alive versus a man who is actually, at the pink of his health, who is, let's say, in his mid 30s or something. He is almost dead. Like if we look at it mentally, he's
Correct.
almost dead. So, and I think just the way this contrast hits us in the same way, or even in a more exaggerated way, it hits Mitch, because then he's actually ashamed of himself, that what am
Correct.
I doing?
Correct.
If a dead person can live, then why cannot I not
Exactly.
live, right? So, and that this is basically when the situation starts changing for him. This is when his personality changes. The Mitch who did not really want to meet anyone a few years ago or a few months ago was actually looking forward to Tuesdays with Maury, right? Because not only because he got to learn a lot of things about life, learn a lot of philosophy, but just to spend some quality time with a quality person, away from work, away from all the complications of his life. So definitely, my perspective of him has changed. He has grown in my eyes. He has surely grown in his own eyes, and I'm sure that the kind of person he is by the end of the book, he loves himself a little bit more than
Correct.
how much he would have loved himself earlier, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So that is my perspective.
Absolutely, absolutely, Ilona, and I would definitely agree with you with 100%. I especially like the part where you say that it's not only just that he is elevated in our point of view, but in his own point of view also he himself is elevated. So yeah, I completely agree with you. If I can give a few examples, during the
Mm.
initial part of the book, Mitch comes across as someone who is fearful of death.
Yeah.
He's even not accepting of death as a fact, right? But
Mm.
however, as the weeks pass, we see him that he's more accepting, and his behavior starts to change. I mean, initially there was a scene where he feels uncomfortable even in touching Maury, right?
Mm.
Even
Yeah.
helping him in and out of the bed. But later, towards the later half of the session, he not only hugs him, he kisses him. He shifts himself Maury in and out of the bed. So yeah, there's a gradual progress of himself as well. Also, I remember the instance where he talks about his own brother with whom he has not
Mm.
spoken over the years. After talking to Maury, he picks up the phone, he starts rebuilding his relationship with his own brother. So yeah, I completely agree. The character evolves overall. There's only one critique which I will have is
Mm.
nothing comes out as a hard hitting, right? I mean, being the author of the book and as a reader myself, I always expected this to happen, right? Maybe we have seen too many Bollywood films and all that, but
Yeah.
yeah, all that came out as very kind of expected, but at the same time very naturally. So
Mm.
credit to Mitch as well that it did not seem forced. But yes, completely agree with you with your point of view.
Yes, here I would just like to
Mm.
rope in Sharda, because Sharda, you belong to an industry, which is a hospitality industry, like you said. And then you also said that you were in the corporate industry for some time. Like
Okay.
Mitch is also, a similar type of a person who was caught in the bars of this corporate culture and everything. So, what do
Okay.
you think about it? Like being, like you just mentioned, right? 9 to 8, 9 to 9, you're doing your job. Like 10 to 12 hours, you're doing your job, and
Okay.
after that, you're not meeting anyone, you're not living for yourself. So how
Exactly.
would you talk about it? Like, are we actually dead in this corporate culture?
Yes, we are dead because there's no life only because you're back to back. Na, there's a,
Hmm.
work is back to back. So you feel like frustrate, a little bit of frustration or
Hmm.
something. You don't have anything to do. So there's what I used to do. When I used to get frustrated and all because back to back, all the rooms to be given, boys are there, some people don't come. It's like so much of this, and you don't have time to see TV. Also, if you go to a room, you feel like it's a guest room and you can't on anything because it's not our property, it is a company
Hmm.
property, but then that is also a guest room, we can't touch their things, nothing we can do. Only the thing I do, when I want to do something, I relax, I go down, I freshen my means like a departure room or something. You wash your face and all, you feel little fresh and all, then you go to the restroom, sit for 5-10 minutes on the pot, and sit and decide what to do, because like every day the same thing happens, every day the same thing happens. So there has to be some change, there's no change at all. So how do we go about, unless and all we don't take our initiative, nobody will come and tell us and help us what to do about it. I feel that way. So you have to take your own time and go out and do something about it, because I have seen lots of people are very shy to open up, also to get friendly with people, to open up and come and talk to a stranger. They say stranger se kaun baat karega. When you want to, means you have to go and talk to, approach the stranger ho koi bhi ho. But feel people, have seen lots of people have come across, they feel very, feel very this ki अरे स्ट्रेंजर से कैसे बात करेंगे, वो तो नया है तो क्या है. When you go to a new job, you don't know your boss, he's also a stranger, right? So
Yeah,
it's like, how to approach them, how to go and meet them, go beyond them and meet them. So you have to trust them, you should have that integrity to trust them. Unless and you don't trust them, then people can't help you out, because if you they want to help you out, first you have to know about that guy, a person, a girl, a boy, whatever his background is. So you have to be very patient with them, because if you want the trust from opposite side, you have to be very cool with them, you have to be very pally with them, like बच्चों के जैसे. You have to interact with them, then only then they can trust you, then only they come forward and meet you and do friendship with you. That's what we all do that.
Yeah,
correct.
and I mean, I think Mitch would have agreed with you with your
Yeah,
frustration, because I could sense that frustration in your tone. And also, one point you really that you raised is very appropriate for our book also, because in Mitch also, you're talking about strangers, but Mitch, when he went on to meet his professor after so many years, he also had this, hesitation. I won't really say that he was not trusting his professor a lot, but there was this hesitation after so many years, because like you said, we are all living alienated. So in
Exactly.
our alienated lives, we don't want someone else poking their nose and trying to give us lessons and all. So it did take Mitch good amount of time to settle down and not feel awkward with this entire interaction.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Correct. So somewhere we in a corporate world we have tend to become mechanical and just keep on doing the same things again and again. But somewhere we are losing connections with the people.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's very much I think we all agree on. So that brings us to our second point. Whom do you think gains more out of these meetings? Do you think is it's only Mitch who gets benefited, or do you think Morrie also gets equally benefited? And if so, how?
Yeah, so like I mentioned previously, Mitch, we've seen a very obvious growth of character in him, and how he has now started to live life and enjoy his life rather, and not just worry about work and everything. And I would say even Morrie has to an effect grown, in the sense, because Mitch was one of his favorite students, we know, and he was always very attached to Mitch. Maybe had Mitch not come back, Morrie's death would not have been so fulfilling, so satisfying for himself. Right, the idea that he was able to give And for Morrie, always the idea of giving was what actually satisfied him. The idea of social service is what
Absolutely.
gave meaning to his life. So the fact that by the end of my life I am able to give to one of my favorite people in the planet is in a way very satisfactory for me. I can die in peace in a
Correct.
way. So that in that sense, I think that yes, Mitch has actually helped Morrie die in peace,
Mm,
because the way Morrie was able to talk with Mitch, I don't think he was able to talk that way with others, because
exactly.
the other people coming were mostly strangers, some were colleagues and all. But Mitch was very close to his heart, right? So yeah, that is what I feel. Both of them have actually complemented each other in life and in death, and that is what the beauty of the novel is, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Correct, correct. Completely agree. And also to add to your point, I think the message of the book is to look at it at a holistic level rather than from a materialistic level, right? So
right.
it's not a question of who gains more. I think in that terms, it's a fair interaction, a mutually benefiting trade. But
Hmm.
both of them have a growth in their own being, right? So yeah, completely agree with you. So just maybe a similar question to Sharda as well. I mean, since you have worked with a doctor and all, have you seen that when a doctor also gets a similar feeling, or even us as human beings, when we help someone come out of a difficult situation, we also feel elevated at the same time? And any of your thoughts, Sharda, or if any example you want to share?
um होता है कभी कभी डॉक्टर्स को भी मीन्स लाइक दे ऑल्सो फील डूइंग टू मच ऑफ वर्क they also need a break or something, so we try to help them out and tell them to relax first, go and meet other people and make them comfortable way, means like friendly way. तो वो रिलेशनशिप कैसी हो जाती है, डॉक्टर एंड पेशेंट अलग होता है, डॉक्टर एंड पेरेंट्स अलग होते हैं, तो दैट इज अ डिफरेंट काइंड. इफ यू हैव टू मेक हिम बिटिल बिट मोर comfortable, so we have to ask him to no, sir, you take your time, don't worry, we'll try to break appointments little 15-20 minutes later karke. So in that 15-20 minutes, maybe he wants to watch his mobile, or maybe he wants to see something or something, maybe and then कोई किसी ने कुछ मैसेज भेज दिया, कुछ कर दिया, मीन्स दैट काइंड ऑफ चाय मंगा दिया, कुछ कर दिया, he may see his mobile and he feels कि ना he is in a very sad mood or something, but कुछ तो देखा होगा उसने अपने मोबाइल में, तो he feels smiling and all saying, अरे शारदा हो गया, अभी 15 मिनट लेट नहीं करेंगे, बहुत लेट हो जाएगा, what we'll do is we'll pack up fast and you can also go home, I can go. I said that's good sir, no problem, 15 minutes का हम लोग 5 मिनट में भी start doing it. So we have to try to make whoever it is XYZ, I'm not saying anything, whoever it is, we have to make them relax little bit, because hectic work सबको होता है, तो वो relaxation is a must. Either it is a parents or sisters or brothers or siblings, कोई भी हो, colleague हो or worker हो, means we have to treat everybody in one general manner. क्योंकि तुम big boss or CEO of the company हो, मैं employee हूँ, no, there should not be any difference in between them. You should be how do you say, balance yourself,
Correct,
वो
correct.
बड़ा है छोटा है करके, अरे वो गरीब है उसका रोटी नहीं खाना, दैट इज नॉट दैट. यू आल्सो शेयर विद हिम, tomorrow you never know, no, he can come up and help you out. So this is what happens, in the both the parties, you have to level yourself, like balancing and all everything, कि वो बड़ा है वो छोटा, वो डॉक्टर है बहुत बड़ा है हम छोटे हैं, मीन्स वैसा नहीं कि सम पीपल फील कि कि अप्रोच करने के लिए डॉक्टर क्या सोचेगा, नेक्स्ट डे मेरे को जॉब से निकाल देगा, बट एटलीस्ट टेक दैट इनिशिएटिव एंड स्टेप फॉरवर्ड एंड सी you never know, he may appreciate it and he may like it, and maybe next time he will say कि कि you have done a good job and all everything. So I feel that way कि you have to be approaching people to what's that word called, एक वर्ड होता है, क्या बोलते हैं उसको, टिंज जैसे बोलते हैं ना, हाउ डू,
About
आई डोंट रिमेम्बर दैट, वो एक वर्ड मीन लाइक लोगों को ना थोड़ा ये करने के लिए क्रैक करते हैं ना,
icebreaker.
हाँ, समथिंग लाइक दैट. सो दैट इज द मेन थिंग. सो आई फील
Right.
दैट इज
Sure. Yeah,
दैट.
yeah. Correct, correct. And I think just to give another example from the book, that Morrie, even though he was a professor, he loves eating, he loves dancing. So yeah, when you say relaxing is as important, I think Morrie as a character completely reflected your feelings there. Yeah, yeah. Correct. So, so one thing which I would like to take up is that at the start of the book, when Mitch first goes to Morrie, the only reason he manages to make that trip is because of the strike in his office, right? So he has an ample free time. But do you think had the strike ended earlier, had Mitch still continued going to Morrie by kind of taking day off from office, or do you think he would have stopped that? What's your view on that, Ilona?
I feel that he would still have continued to go to Morris. The reason is that the first time that he goes to Morrie, yes, he is hesitant, he is not very open, but he is still absorbing whatever Morrie is saying. He's not giving, maybe, but he is definitely absorbing. And after that first interaction, he he somehow knows that my professor is still my professor, and he treats me with equal amount of love as he did when I was a youngster. Right? This in itself is very comforting for him. And in top of that, the lessons that Maury obviously gives him in the first visit, the attitude that Maury represents about his death. He's not shy or he's not embarrassed that he's dying. He's not sad. Rather, he's looking at this as another chapter in his life, right? So all these things have really impressed Mitch. And I mean, impressed is a very vague word to use. It's much more than impressed, but yeah, it has really influenced Mitch. So I feel that in the first visit itself, Mitch somehow realizes how, bound he is to his life and how free his professor is in his life. So from the first visit itself, this there is this trigger in Mitch, right, where he starts realizing that I have to work towards being someone else, not exactly like my professor, because people are different, but I have to be a better version of myself. So, had the strike finished earlier, I think Mitch would still have, taken a leave, taken 2 days leave, and gone and seen his professor. Because right now, after the first meeting, for Mitch, the professor is more important than his job. Listening to what life has in store is more important to Mitch than his job is. So now his priorities have actually changed. We are already seeing a change in Mitch, right? And so I really feel that he would have
Right.
actually gone ahead and met the professor at the cost of this job.
Right. Wow, that's nice. What I felt was that had the maybe the strike would have ended even after 5 weeks, he would have definitely gone ahead because
Hmm.
by then he had realized the value of those interactions and meetings. But
Yeah.
maybe if the strike would have ended after the first meeting, I'm a little skeptical if he would have continued.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
I think he was still in that phase where he had all the desire to go, but somewhere he was stuck in that corporate shell.
Yeah.
He was still trying very hard to break that mold and come out of it, but maybe he needed some more trigger. And had
Hmm.
he not been semi-idled because of the strike during the initial couple of weeks, I'm not very sure. But definitely after the first 4 or 5 weeks, he would have definitely continued because by then his character has evolved.
Evolved.
Right,
Right.
right, absolutely. Yeah. So just give me a second. Sorry.
Yeah.
So one more thing which I was thinking is has the kind of the aspect of dying itself give weightage to Maury's words. What I mean is that had Maury not been dying, let's say Mitch and Maury would have met again after a few years in a party, and
Hmm.
Maury would also have been in his pink of health, hale and healthy, dancing across, and Maury would have told him the same things, the value of life, relationship, etc., etc. Had Mitch still given an equal weightage to his words? What do you think? That
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, see, here, what I think the reason why Mitch was able to change, the reason there was a trigger in Mitch was not because Maury was dying. It was because Maury was able to, where it hurts, tell him what is wrong with himself without directly actually telling him that you are a corporate slave. In every indirect way possible, Maury has actually brought out or brought Mitch to a reality which he was escaping all this while.
Mm,
This is the reason why Mitch actually goes ahead and listens to him after that. And
mm,
this is exactly what happens, right? I mean, when you go to a mental health counselor, you go to a psychologist, or in the first few minutes, we don't want to take that person seriously because we are too guarded in our own shell. We
correct.
don't want to open up to someone. The minute that person starts pricking in with the right questions, with the appropriate questions, that is when we start taking that person seriously. And that is when we actually start opening up to the person, because we know that we can trust that person, that
Right.
he or she will not judge us, rather he or she is going to solve our problems. This is exactly what happened here, right? In this, in Morrie and Mitch's case. So had Mitch and Morrie met in a party few years down the line, and even if it had been a very casual conversation, had it not been a very, philosophical conversation, I
Mm.
still think Morrie would have been able to identify Mitch as this corporate slave. He would have asked him the right questions, hit him where it hurt, and brought him to conscious of the fact that you need a better life.
Wow.
And then probably it would have been Mitch running after Morrie that, please talk to me more, tell me how I can escape this life. Because at the end of the day, he was the professor, right? So no one could have guided him better. So yes,
Correct.
I feel that his dying was a tragic event. His dying was basically giving a certain urgency to the thesis, quote unquote, to all
Mm.
the classes that they had, but it was not the trigger. The trigger
Mm.
was Maury himself, and his questions and his indirect comments to Mitch.
Correct. I think that that's a beautiful take. Yes, I would agree. At the same time, I would maybe somewhere also think that the dying part, as you said, it gave the urgency to it. But I
Hmm.
also think that somewhere it does gives a weightage. Right. For
Hmm.
example, if I hear someone talking and imagine it like this, right? In philosophy, life and death are considered as two shores, right? There's
Hmm.
a river in between, and you have to cross that river, right? So
Hmm.
Mori is seen as a character who is already in the middle of the river. He's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
either on the side, either side of it. And I feel that somewhere that does gives him a weightage of people to listen to him. The whole reason there was an interview happening and was being broadcasted over TV. It did give him some weightage, is what I felt. But
Hmm.
yeah, I completely agree that Mori being the professor he would have identified those challenges in Mitch, and he would have still taken up those initiatives. And I'm sorry, Mitch would have definitely listened to it. Completely agree on that.
Hmm. Right.
Right. Shada, do you think that a dying person's words hold more weightage or importance?
I didn't get you. Come back again.
So in the book, I'll just give you a quick setup, right? So in the book, Maury, who is the professor, he's dying and he's teaching the life lessons to Mitch.
Okay.
And Mitch listens those lessons and imbibes those lessons over 14 weeks.
Okay.
So the question is that in this situation, we know Maury is dying, and what he's saying from the heart. It has to be the core truth because he has lived that life, and now he's imparting those lessons because Maury does or the professor doesn't have anything to gain out of it because he's anyways dying. So question is, do we think that a dying person's words hold more weightage just because he's dying? What he's saying is more important. Do you think that
Yes, it is because the other person has to understand what is.
what it is, right? Yeah. Right, yeah, correct. So yeah, that was an interesting one. So I'll come to the final discussion point. So which is very similar. Again, on a similar line, that in this case there is an impending death, right? And that is what has given more voice in this sense. So again, a very similar question. If we generalize this to anyone, I mean, does death makes us philosophical? If I as a person today know that I have only X number of days or weeks to live, do you think my attitude towards life will change, or any general person's attitude towards life will change?
If you ask me, it's a very subjective question. I mean, it depends on the person, because
Hmm.
the way Maury was able to, embrace his death, not many people can do that. I mean, it's very difficult to be able to, accept that you are totally dependent on another person now. You don't have any independence of your own. Not many people can do that, and especially we people, today with all our corporate culture and everything, we want to be super independent. We don't want to rely on our parents for money. We don't want to rely on our husbands for taking us out on holidays. I mean, it's a good thing. Independence is a good thing, but it has its vanity. Like today, we, in the name of independence, we don't want any close relationships. It's come to that I am independent it is almost equal to I am lonely these days, right? So yeah, having said that, there are people who had they been in Morrie's place, they would have looked at it with a lot of pessimism, that my life is over, I have not been able to do anything in my life. Even at the age of 70, many people might have been saying that I couldn't do this, I couldn't see my grandchildren's wedding, or I couldn't see my children's children, etc. Now, if you, I don't know whether you guys have seen Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
uh, Benedict Cumberbatch, when he met with this fatal accident where he lost his hands and everything, and he was a surgeon, so obviously he could not do surgery after that, and he was destroyed because he did not know what else to do in life. And that is the case with most of us today. We are so driven towards, like, let's say, opening bank accounts, or towards making hotels, making chain of hotels. We don't know what else to do when we are invalid, right? And this is something we really need to think about, not with pessimism but with reality, like realism. That what if today, tomorrow, I am not able to sell jewelry the way I am able to sell it today? What am I going to do? Will I just be sitting in my bed and crying? So this is something we really need to reflect about, and I don't think many people would have been able to have Maury's attitude. Yes,
correct.
many people might have been philosophical, but negatively. That death is like the end of everything, and I don't know what all.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, it's really magical for the person to be able to have such a positive attitude about death,
True.
right? And see, it's whatever Maury says actually makes a lot of logical sense, because for him, death, or the, yeah, or this preparation for death was almost like getting back to a child, having the comfort of someone's touch, having the comfort of someone taking care of you 24/7. And that is what we are missing. I mean, I'm not saying that you really need to always be happy when you die. It's not that possible to be happy, but we can try.
Correct.
But we can see it as another phase of our life, just like we did when we got married, when we started having gray hair, right? So yeah. So, and but yeah, having said all that, in conclusion, I think that it does make you philosophical, but not always for the right reasons.
Mm. Beautiful take, beautiful take. Yeah, yeah, completely agree. And I've not seen Doctor Strange, but a similar character, if I try to think of a parallel in a movie or a series, I mean, the movie Anand comes to my mind, and
Yes.
uh, the one line which describes what you have just said is कि जिंदगी बड़ी होनी चाहिए लंबी नहीं.
Lambi nahi, right,
Correct.
right.
So yeah, completely agree. So that I think I can take leave on that note. That zindagi badi honi chahiye, lambi nahi is the beautiful message from this book, and that the life should be lived, and the interactions, the people, our loved ones are as important as our job, and they should be given equal importance.
Right.
Also, to mention to Sharda, since she has not yet started reading the book, I think it's a quick read. It's not a bulky book. You can read it easily,
Yeah,
so
I
highly
agree
recommended
on
from my
what
side.
you said about it. I agree with Eluna, what she just now said. I agree with her. That's what life all about it. And it's like sometimes you feel you want to be independent, you don't want to be dependent on someone, because once you get used to that, na, then you feel कि you're relaxing. The people ये चाहिए वो चाहिए वो चाहिए, so someone is there at your other end to give you all those things. Independent में क्यों होता है? You have to be your own self, you have to go and pick up your own things, all those things you have to think that way. So they feel कि attachment होगा ना, तो that is very difficult. Once you attach to someone and the end of the death is there, then you feel again single, you feel very lonely. So that should not happen. So the best is to be independent and go your life on that way, and that will be better. So you have a little distance with your family or something. Necessary nahi ki means you can go meet them, talk to them, and I agree what she Ilona said. It's a very good point she has given.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely true.
I could read this because discussing this, now I'm thinking I have to get the PDF or read the book. When he has PDF, please send it. आज रात को ही बैठ के पढ़ लूंगी मैं करके, because I'm
It's on the
interested in
website.
what all inputs you all put now, so I want to really read it now.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's a must read. I must say that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so with that, thanks a lot for all your points of view. I did completely enjoy and love this discussion and a lot of takeaways for me as well. So with that,
Thank you so much,
Harshal,
Ankush and Aruna
thank you so much.
and Harshala. Harshada, what's her name? Harshala.
Harshala. So yeah, Harshala, back to you.
Yeah, hi. Thank you guys for joining. Even I'm going to pick up this as my next read. This seems to be a really good book and very philosophical, and it's a short book, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not very good with fiction. I tend to leave it in between. But definitely picking this up and seeing how it, if I'm able to finish this. So thank you all for joining. And have an amazing Sunday
Fiction
evening.
पढ़ती हूँ
Yes.
मैं. I love romance and more, like, mystery books and all. But slowly, while started reading, so few non-fiction, fiction books, so मुझे लगता है हाँ पढ़ना चाहिए और आगे जाना चाहिए. It's really good. तो आज ये जो आपने लोगों ने inputs डाला है books के अंदर, so I feel ना I should really read this book, and no fiction or non-fiction doesn't make a difference. I have to read this book. Once you come to know few things about ना, तुम्हारे mind में चलता रहेगा अभी ये book पढ़ना है, book पढ़ना
Correct.
है. That go on, like, like वो death भी ऐसे होता है ना, someone says ना तुम मर रहे हो, तो you don't think other things, ये बंदे ने बोला तुम मर रहे हो, तो that goes in your mind as a fear, it goes on. So same thing like in the book also ना, पढ़ना ही है तो means पढ़ना ही है, that is the main thing.
Yeah, if you like romance, then there is this 500 Days of Summer. So we are having a discussion on that on 7th of Feb.
I've seen that. Yes, you sent me the this now three books you sent. Curfewed. Uh,
Yeah,
how
Curfew,
you
I
find
think
days to
Curfew
work?
Nights is
Romance book
on
I've seen on
26th.
the Google.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Definitely. So you all can join for that one as well.
Sure.
Again, thank you everyone for joining and have an amazing Sunday evening.
Thank
Thanks
Sure.
and same
you.
to you,
Thank you so
Harshila.
much.
Good
Bye.
night. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye
Night.
bye.